Right now, let's go wild with the big fat idea. Dale McClanahan is with me. He's CEO of Lotus Ventures, a Vancouver-based company. Let's start with this, Dale. What's your big fat idea?
Well, marijuana is changing from a movement to an industry. Legislative change in Canada has moved towards resolving the contradiction between the medical access and today's general, but technically illegal access.
Yeah, I'm proud to say we introduced the whole concept of marijuana as an industry, as a business. I think it was 3 years ago, Mark Leibovit at the World Outlook Conference, and we are seeing growth. But as you say, in Canada, it's still been a question. I mean, it still seems to be like a big hodgepodge, as you say, between the medical access and the general illegal access, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it. But it looks like that's starting to change.
Well, we've really turned the corner this week with the government coming out to clarify medical access. They reinstated homegrown production, and they've entrenched the commercial licensed producers like what we're applying for. And the next step will come with legislative change where they outline how the distribution will be for general access.
Now, in Lotus Ventures, you guys are a medical marijuana company. Do you welcome these changes, or it's just a relief to get the clarification?
I think we welcome the changes because the public is ready to receive, I think, quality control for consumers, and also as we move forward, I think that folks will be less reliant on homegrown and probably more on the convenience and reliability of commercial.
Just your guess, and as you said, this part, they've just been sorting out the medical side of things, so the general side of things. Just your guess, where do you think this is going to be distributed? Is it going to be sort of the liquor store model, do you suspect?
I think that the federal government is very clear that they want to legalize to better restrict, and so we think pharmacies are a natural. They're giving the provinces, or likely to give the provinces,
well, of course,
choice, which would be the liquor stores. The business model that's likely going to work in this situation is not around advertising and celebrity branding, because there is a strong desire to restrict access for young people, and we think it's going to be the low-cost producers.
And again, if I wanted to, I mean, this is a growth industry. We've seen the expansion, the kind of thing you're just discussing, in the States very readily, where, the number of states that are legalizing for general use continues to grow. You just mentioned you think where the key here will be low cost, producers here. And I guess British Columbia's got a reputation, but it's also got some low hydro rates.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, what right now we can investors can participate. There's a handful of listed companies on the Canadian exchanges. PI Investments has just instituted coverage on 4 of them, and we like Organigram Holdings, New Brunswick-based organic producer who are sticking to their knitting, have had a good run up in the last 2 years, and the other one is
let's go back just to Organigram. So their focus is just being, a lower cost producer there. So that they're not worried about distribution. They're just selling the product, kind of like a farmer does with most products.
Yes, I think that what they've got is a good base for technical growth and expansion. It's easy to underestimate how important it is. Quality control is now that with Health Canada protocols, testing of all product is mandatory.
You mentioned Metrum Health there, and I interrupted you.
Yeah, similarly, that's fine. They're Ontario-based, and a little more experience on the consumer product side of things, but we also like them because they're very focused on highly controlled growing. We think that it's going to be quality control and yields that's the critical thing as this industry gets off the ground.
Now, are these all speculative and aggressive just because the nature of the industry is so new? So you're not going to have an IBM involved here,
yes,
that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, I think that most of the available investments are relatively small, and we've each got a slightly different approach on the business model, and it'll be 6 months to 2 years before it's really clear which is going to be the big winning approach.
Yeah, that's interesting because that's one of the big challenges. Anytime you get, I remember that clearly with the internet, et cetera, with software companies going back quite a bit, all of that, you want to, it's tough to call right at the beginning which one's going to emerge as the real industry leaders on that side of the thing. So that's what I think adds to that speculative nature. But the stocks, the stuff I follow in this whole arena sure seems to have been doing pretty well.
No, the four that I mentioned all have done, of the four covered by PI, they've all received a 50% increase since July 1st. When you step back and look at what has been, what is currently a $4.5 to $6 billion industry that is now going to have to go through licensed producers, probably the flavor of producer is not going to be as important as being a producer.
And these kind of stocks, how long do you expect to hold them if you bought them?
Oh, I would think that a year to 2 years would be clear which are going to be the real winners, and 3 years would provide probably very good returns.
Yeah, very interesting stuff when a new industry comes up. Obviously, people have sort of an identity with it. I'm trying to think of the right word there, but they're familiar with the general concept, that's for sure. Dale McClanahan, thanks so much for joining us.
Great, thank you.